certainly miss her already. At this point, we're going to have some special tributes from family, and I'm inviting David and Daniel Mink up. I don't know if you're coming up together or one after another. Either way, come on up and share. You can go one after another or whatever. No, go one after another.
So I just wanted to say a few things about some of the memories of my mom. Not all of us are able to, visit the home where we grew up, and I was really blessed to have just a wonderful childhood, and just going slowly through that house, just the memories just kind of flood back. One of my, I don't know if it's my favorite memory of this guy. He was about 4 years old, and there's this hallway about this wide to the back bedrooms, and he was able to shinny up to the top of this entryway. He's got his head touching the ceiling, and he says, "Look, Mom!" And she took a picture of that. He's butt naked. So later on, I don't care how old I get, I'll never not see that. But eventually, Mom got a Sharpie and gave him a pair of shorts or something. Right next to that was my dad's recliner, and just the memories there. That's where we all learned how to play chess, and sat there and watched Archie Bunker. And he'd have the newspaper. He got home from work, he'd have the newspaper, and he'd have all kinds of little inscriptions and jokes and things that he would do. Just memories. Just learned a lot about that. And Mom, she was really passionate about a lot of things. I remember she made a tunnel we had like 4 or 5 feet of snow one year. I don't know what year that was. And she helped us make a tunnel from the front porch to the bus stop out of the far corner. And she had little holes so we didn't suffocate in there, but just crazy. And then she made an igloo for us, which she got some kind of a big box, and she made this. She packed the snow down real well, and it was like a 6 foot tall, to accommodate 5 or 6 people. I knocked a hole in the top, and we actually put a little campfire in there. That lasted long after the snow was gone. She put water on it so it froze, and long after the snow was gone, that igloo was still there. We had a lot of wonderful times exploring the neighborhood. We had woods that would go for miles all around the house. But Mom had this one thing. Whenever it was dinner time, she had a really great whistle. She could, 2-3 blocks away, easy, you could hear this thing. And she taught it to me, and I taught it to Nicole. Nicole, do me a favor, give me a whistle. A good one for Mom. That's a little tiny. One time she did, thank you, Nicole. One time she, for Halloween, we were pretty young, and she wanted to make sure she went around with us, I guess. So she made a costume for herself. I hope somebody's got a picture of this. I'd love to see it again. But she made herself, and this is probably not appropriate today, but she made a giant, out of a metal kind of a wiring system and cray paper, she made a giant Aunt Jemima bottle that she walked around in. It was like 8 foot tall. Remember that? Oh my gosh. We probably played hundreds, maybe 1,000 card games, this Crummy Rummy that the pastor was mentioning earlier. And just the nice thing about Crummy Rummy is it's not so much the cards, it's the camaraderie, the conversations that you have with people that you haven't seen in a long time. So that was just a family tradition that's really carried on. I hear stories about people playing it overseas now, and just all over the place. If there was ever an issue with anybody playing a card game, we'd call Mom, because she was the rules, right? That was it. So if there was a dispute, she'd settle it. We did a lot of traveling together, Mount Vernon and Washington, D.C. We'd go see Megan and Mark and Uncle Ed and Aunt Meg and, wherever they were, Sewickley or Coriopolis or just all those wonderful places. And we'd go to Washington, D.C. and see Aunt Lilly and Uncle Carl and all the kids. And we'd do Niagara Falls, and she made sure we got on the good ship Lollipop. One of the things that I'm kind of running on here, but I'll be done in a couple minutes, Dan. Just relax. So we'd go roller skating. She made sure we were all good roller skaters. I actually worked at the rollercade, but I'm probably 12 or 13 years old, and she loved to do this dance called the flea hop. So she'd make me go out on the dance floor and dance this flea hop in front of all my friends, but I knew she loved it, and it didn't bother me at all. It was a blast. I had a lot of fun. Okay, later. I'd call my mom every day. Kind of like clockwork. I'd call her late morning, early afternoon, and we'd have just wonderful conversations. She always had time for me. She's normally on the phone with Aunt Lilly, because they'd talk every day too, or Uncle Paul. And just a lot of great conversations. She would kind of cut me off when I tried to convert her to be a vegan. But that went over like a lead brick. But I still have an alarm that goes off on my phone. I can't turn it off. It goes off every evening at 7:45. It says, "Did you call your mother yet?" So it's just kind of, and it kind of gives me an opportunity. I think about her all the time anyway, just to think about, and just kind of the memories flood back. We went to Youngstown State University together. She was just beginning her master's degree for accounting, and she talked me into taking an accounting 101 class with her, and it was the most painful, terrible. If I was late for class, or if I didn't do my homework, I was in big trouble. You guys know my mom. I was in big trouble. So that was an interesting, fun time. The last thing I want to say is that when I decided to move to Texas from Youngstown, I'd loaded up my Ford LTD. Everything that I owned was in that car, and I remember her standing in the driveway just crying like a baby, just bawling. And she would do that for the first 5 years. I'd come home a couple times a year, and every time I left, she'd just start blubbering. And that's when you really know that there's unconditional love. I'm going to miss you, Mom. So, thank you.
Now we know why. We know why the younger brothers never follow the older brothers. Ditto. What can I say? Hey, tears of joy when you were leaving. Those weren't crying, Dave. So I came up. I'm seriously though. I'm gonna keep this very, very short, but I just want to thank the people that came out today to see this. But amen, right? I mean, 95-year-old sister-in-law, my dad's sister, comes to this from Jekyll Island, Georgia. Probably 75. But his youngest sister comes from California, Sonoma, California, to be here with us and support us today. And her youngest sister from Colorado makes it after an unbelievable morning to try to get here with lots of blood. There's some crazy story there for the future. My cousin Megan and my CJ, all of us just coming in. My other cousin who somewhere left because he was coughing from California. Just to love it. And all you people, we're so blessed. Honestly, I was so blessed. One thing about my whole life, and I learned, I have 6 kids, so holy cow, right? And so I'm not responsible for a lot of the grandchildren, though. I'm only 3 so far. So a lot of kids, I've learned a lot, but I learned one thing from my mother. I'll tell you one thing, and I learned it, and I've tried to be that type of person, is that Our job as parents are to be great memories for our kids, and this one was my memory. So, God bless.
I'm going to invite Jen up at this point. She's going to share.
A reading from Scripture. When you give to the needy, do not let your left hand know what your right hand is doing, so that your giving may be in secret. Then your Father in heaven, who sees what is done, will reward you. Matthew 6, 3 and 4. My mother lived this scripture with her hands, her feet, and a giving heart. With a history of helping others, she saved many lives. Some of you are here today. Mom helped students get off drugs and started a support group in our kitchen. South Range students knew if they could reach Mom, she'd get them to a safe place. To be honest, I was jealous of the students who got so much of her time. And everywhere we went, they'd go, Mama Mink! Mom wasn't perfect, but none of us are. And when I was a little girl, the phone rang in the middle of the night and woke me up. You know, if the phone is ringing after midnight, it's usually not good news. I'll be there in 10 minutes, I heard her say quietly. The next call was to the police. This was not a one-time event. Yes, I'm going to pick her up now. No, she is not a runaway. Yes, I'll call them in the morning. She looked up to see me watching her. Jennifer Lynn, back to bed. A small-boned teenager arrived with Mom. She was bruised, bleeding, and I heard her sobbing while Mom reassured her that she was safe. She looked positively terrified, but when she saw me hiding in the hallway, I was rewarded with a weak smile. Did she say her father did this to her? Mom's voice was calm. Jen, what did I say? Back to bed, I grumbled obediently. And, just a second. I awoke next to Marty, and the sad girl was sleeping in my bed. This kind of thing happened throughout our childhoods. I asked what happened to the girl, but Mom just said, she is safe now. She didn't pat herself on the back. She just moved on to the next hurting kid. Did you know Mom was still receiving Christmas cards from grateful students last December, 20 plus years after retiring? That's amazing. When was the last time one of you sent a Christmas card to one of your old teachers? In December of 1966, Christmas fell on a Sunday, and with it, the horror that we had to go to church before we could open our gifts. We were so disappointed. When we were little, the tradition was to put up the live tree after the children went to bed, and we'd wake up to the smell of fresh pine, a sea of presents, and cinnamon rolls heating up in the oven. It smelled like Christmas. On our way home from church, Mom took me into an apartment complex that reeked of fresh urine. I remember stepping over a man's legs. He was passed out in the hallway. Mommy, it smells like pee. Shh, we don't want to wake him up. Why is he sleeping on the floor? Jen, be quiet now. I knew not to speak again, but I had so many questions. We climbed dark, sticky stairs to the second floor, and the door opened into a bright, clean, empty apartment. It had 2 lawn chairs and 2 plastic TV trays. Imagine my surprise. No furniture, no toys, nothing. Did they just move in? Wait, it didn't look or smell like Christmas at all. No Christmas tree, no presents, nothing cooking in the oven. I held tight to my mother's hand until I saw children my age peeking out from the kitchen. I smiled and waved. They were so excited. Why didn't Santa come to their home? They seemed nice enough. On that freezing morning, that freezing Christmas morning, I learned that there were places even Santa wouldn't go. My young heart was furious about waiting to open presents, and they were excited about having food. To be honest, I was a little sad when I finally opened my gifts. One more quick story. I was 17 when I asked Jesus into my heart, and I was trying to figure out what it meant to serve others. Mom took me to the hospital to see her best friend. Patty Heck was a woman I'd known and loved my entire life, and she was dying. She had diabetes and suffered the indignity of losing her feet, then legs. On top of that, there was a nursing shortage in 1978. Mom went to the hospital to find her beloved friend on soiled sheets. Her bloody bandages needed changed. After seeing that, Mom left school and cared for her friend every night until she died. When we arrived at the hospital and got off the elevator, the eye-burning stench coming from Patty's room greeted us in the hallway. A nurse approached, handing Mom clean sheets, and she mouthed, "Thank you." I was horrified by the experience and pulled my shirt up over my nose. I became invisible, sitting in the furthest corner as Patty was given a sponge bath, a new hospital gown. Mom changed her sheets and helped the nurse with the bandages. She did not flinch. When she was finished making Patty comfortable, she read to her until she fell asleep. The only thing Mom said as we left the hospital was, "I'm glad you were here with me tonight, dear." Before Dad introduced Mom to his sister, our dear Aunt Meg, he said something like, "Give her a chance, she'll be the best friend you could ever have." After seeing Mom care for Patty with an overabundance of love, we can all see how true that statement really was. Many here have witnessed my mother step into what most plug their noses and step around. I always wondered about the Good Samaritan. Who would do all that for a stranger? Well, now you know. When I would tell my mother, "I love you," she'd respond, "Love is made complete with your hands and with your feet." 101.
Thank you very much. I think we're going to hear more about the 101 in a minute, but Skip is going to share first, right? Skip isn't? No. Lily's going to come up and share, right?
I'm old, but I'm not feeble yet. Okay, as you know, Sandy's little sister, and Aunt Lilly to a zillion of these sweet people. For any of you who read the obituary, the 101 was not a typo. It was there on purpose. 101 has a history in my family. During COVID, when my husband was in nursing rehab, being hard of hearing, he could not understand telephone conversations. And it got to the point where he could understand two things. One was, "I'll call you in the morning," and the other was 101. Now, after he passed, 101 became what I would say to Sandy. When I would come here at night, it was always 101, and I'd tweak her toes, which I did with my mother too. Nasty habit. The family has picked up on this from both sides. And basically, 101 is shorthand for God bless, sleep tight, pleasant dreams, I love you. And it has become very dear to all of us as something from the heart.
is very nice. I want to remember that, as well as love is made complete with your hands and your feet. We're going to invite Daniel Porter up, and he's going to sing Danny Boy.
Danny boy, the pipes are calling from glen to glen and down the mountainside. The summer's gone and all the rose is falling. It's you, must go and I must bide. But come ye back.